I have not been a person, honestly, who has suffered from anxiety generally, like in my life.
Well,
But
you're lucky.
recently, yeah, but recently I have become more anxious. And so I have a trip that I'm going on for my birthday in like 2 weeks. And I'm really excited about it, but now I'm starting to get very anxious about it. And it's funny because it's a long flight. I'm going to the Middle East, but I've taken this flight many times before. But only now am I like, oh my God, I'm gonna be on a plane for like
Yeah.
13 hours. And oh my goodness, like, what if I get there and like I don't like the place anymore, you know? And I was wondering to myself, like, what is that about? Like, what is that? But I do like, and I was trying to push it away, like, oh, that's ridiculous because like you shouldn't be anxious about this. Like, you've done this
Yeah.
before. But I
Yeah.
love how you said you have to accept the anxiety. Like just accept that this is where you are, this is what you're feeling, and then what's the next step? Like after I accept this, this is a place that I
Then
am.
Good
what
question.
you
Yeah.
Because
have
I
to deal
still
with.
want to
And
take
then
my
what?
trip, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have travel anxiety right now, all of a
Mhm.
sudden.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot. I've been speaking with a lot of people about it, reading a lot about it. A lot of people feel anxious traveling. There's a lot going on in the world. And
Mhm.
even if they've been on a however long 13-hour flight, it's like it feels different this time. I feel very apprehensive about it. There are a variety of reasons why. So
My
being
son
on
just
a
had
plane,
a
for
full.
example, is you're not the pilot. At least I don't think you're the pilot.
I'm not the pilot.
So, but you're not in control. Someone else is
No.
flying the plane. And if you're a person who likes to be in control and you've got a lot going on, and then you're in a situation where for however many hours you're like captive, like, okay, I'm not driving basically or flying, you can feel apprehensive about it. And that becomes what we call anticipatory anxiety. That's a clinical term. When you start to worry before the event, people have
Right.
that with social
Say it
anxiety.
again, Miss
I
Laura.
got invited to a work event and already like my heart's racing and I'm dreading it. That's called anticipatory anxiety. You get anxious before it happens and then it
Mm.
feeds on itself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't cancel the trip no matter what. All right. You still go to the party. You still go on the trip. You still go to the movies,
Okay.
right? You still go to the
Yes.
concert, whatever the things, you've scheduled. You never cancel unless you have the flu or something.
Right.
I think it's really interesting too because with Kamisha traveling, there are also layers upon which women, as we're going through perimenopause and into menopause, there's situational things that just can make somebody feel more anxious at different times that we have to deal with. And then there are these other different reasons that we start to feel more anxious that we can't really put our finger on. And it's layered with all the other symptoms of menopause that we
Yes.
might be going through.
Yes.
Um, but it can be quite overwhelming. And I think one of the reasons too, and you can say, well, I'm traveling and I'm identifying that when I'm thinking about traveling, even though it's foreign to me to
Right.
have this feeling,
Mhm.
I can have something concrete to attach that feeling to, that anxiety to.
Yeah.
One of the things that I also find is unnerving is when I'm just starting to feel anxious and there's not a goddamn thing going on around me. Like I don't know
Mm.
what is happening to create that feeling inside of me. And I think a lot of women, as they're going through menopause and don't have as much of the resources and education that, because, we've been typically underserved, historically underserved when it comes to learning about menopause and our hormones for women.
Mhm.
So, this is a really important education that you're offering us right now too, because what do we do when we don't really feel like we have something we can attach it to, but we're
Oh,
feeling it is
Right.
overpowering?
yeah. Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point about perimenopause, menopause. Um, because of the hormonal changes, you experience some symptoms they're very similar to anxiety. Your heart could start racing. A lot of people
Yes.
report
Yeah.
like it feels like my heart's not beating in a regular way. The sweating, that's a big symptom of anxiety, like tingly feelings, just feeling spacey, foggy headed, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. I
Yes.
find my eyeglasses, whatever it is.
Yeah.
These are all, brain and hormonal changes, and they can make you feel either out of it or out of control. You can get stomach aches, back aches, and that all kind of adds to, I don't feel like myself right now. And
Mm.
so what you're also speaking about is all of a sudden you're sitting there, like everything's fine. Maybe you're like having lunch with a girlfriend and you're like, all of a sudden you get hit with this anxiety and you start to sweat. What's going on right now? And you
Yeah.
realize I'm feeling anxious. And you're thinking, but nothing happened. Everything is the
Mm.
same as it was 5 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
we call that free floating anxiety.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It also could be too warm in the restaurant, and then that kicks off your perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms. But
Yeah.
sometimes anxiety just happens randomly and people don't understand it. They're like, I'm walking down the street and it feels like a tidal wave of anxiety came over me, or they're driving all of a sudden and then they get scared in the car. And then, of course, that turns into they're afraid of driving in the same spot because the same thing will happen. Anxiety is very tricky that way. It starts to generalize. So, but yeah, this time of life, there are all these physiological changes. That's why things like exercise, yoga, meditation, staring at the wall, doing box breathing, swimming, like whatever it is, it's so important to try to decrease your stress levels and regulate your nervous system. It's particularly important from midlife on to do that. It's also good for our bones to exercise, but there's so many strategies to have because these symptoms are so varied for anxiety. There are like more than
Yeah.
15 symptoms of anxiety: headaches, stomach aches, backaches, numbness, tingling, heart racing, tightness in the chest, trouble breathing, can't swallow, nausea, can't sleep. It's such a long list that it's hard to figure out what's going on sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine though, Kamisha, me staring at the wall, trying to get my shit together and just staring, and my husband's probably trying to figure out that
Yeah, well,
did I lose my mind? So